The live visuals that are coming in from the United Nations headquarters, where the Indian Prime Minister has, of course, arrived at the United Nations headquarters. Remember, he's, of course, a big yoga enthusiast who recognized the importance of yoga and as to how yoga can help each individual to be the fittest version of themselves. And that, of course, is the message of International Yoga Day. And these are live scenes from the United Nations headquarters straight out of New York that are in fact being beamed. This is the 9th International Yoga Day. The Indian Prime Minister at the bust of Mahatma Gandhi there paying his respects to the father of the nation, Bapu. These are the other political leaders and dignitaries who are also paying their respects to the father of the Indian nation, Mahatma Gandhi. This is the bust that has been put in place at the United Nations headquarters. Remember, yoga is India's gift to the world. And this is such an important and also such a simple thing that everyone can incorporate as a part of their everyday, day-to-day lives. One just needs to spend about 15 to 20 minutes to perhaps be the fittest version of themselves. One does not need to go to fancy gyms, to use fancy equipments, get some fancy trainers. All that one needs is a simple mat on which one can perform the different asanas of yoga with a special emphasis being laid on breath control, on how people breathe when they are doing these different stretching postures that they get into as part of the different asanas of yoga. And this, of course, is the message that has been put out by the Indian Prime Minister, who himself is a big yoga enthusiast. He has yoga as a part of his day-to-day life. And this, of course, is a tradition in India where every child in India does practice yoga both at their schools and also at their homes. And this is the message that India's Prime Minister has, of course, been taking to the world. But yoga per se, as remember, has been India's gift to the world. It is the ancient civilizational gift that India has always projected and has always encouraged people from different walks of life to incorporate as their way of living. And it is the United States of America, after India, which seems to be practicing yoga more than any other nation. Because the Americans seem to be taking yoga very, very seriously. 36 million Americans reportedly practice yoga pretty much on a day-to-day basis. That's nearly about 10% of the population. And 1 in 3 Americans, that's nearly about 100 million Americans, have taken part in some form of yoga or another at some point of time in their life. That, of course, is the importance of yoga. And unlike these heavy lifting exercises, the beauty of yoga is that it is incredibly simple, but also at the same time, it is incredibly effective in helping people lead very healthy lives. So in just a few moments from now, the Indian Prime Minister will, of course, be leading the International Yoga Day celebrations. These are live visuals that are being beamed from the United Nations headquarters in New York. And my colleague Molly Gambhir is still with us from New York. Molly, these are scenes that we're looking out straight from New York, where the Indian Prime Minister has in fact arrived at the venue at the United Nations headquarters to lead the celebrations of International Yoga Day. And the Indian Prime Minister has, of course, made it a sort of a mission during his prime ministership tenure to try and spread awareness about the importance of yoga and as to how people can in fact inculcate yoga in their day-to-day lives.
Indeed, and he has also been called the global ambassador for leading the yoga efforts, given the way since 2014 we have seen the journey of the International Yoga Day, which of course was started by the Indian Prime Minister himself, and the event taking place at the UN headquarters is in itself symbolic of the efforts that have been made by the Indian Prime Minister on this front. But let's also talk about how this is an important message on part of India. You know, this is an event which is being watched by millions around the world. And the very fact that India has been considered as a country which has been spearheading efforts on multiple levels to get the world united, this is one way in which the Indian Prime Minister has also sent out a message of unity, you know, as a way in which the world can come together. And like I said, the theme for this year's Yoga Day symbolizes that as well, which is Yoga for Vasudev Kundupakam, which is Yoga for One World, One Family, which means that this is a way, a thread to, in fact, keep the world united. And the benefits of yoga, of course, is, you know, have been listed out by the Indian Prime Minister himself, you know, talking about how it does help one actually lead our lives in the best version, as you've been pointing out as well, and the unison of the mind, body and spirit, and mental and physical health, mental and physical well-being as well. And the very fact that we have these attendees gathering at that event, which will be led by the Indian Prime Minister, is a huge message on part of India to the world as well.
Absolutely, indeed. Molly, do continue to stay on with us, because this is such, you know, an inherent aspect of pretty much every Indian's life, because, you know, every single Indian will, of course, would have performed some form of yoga or other at some point of time in their lives. Now, these are live visuals that are being beamed out of the United Nations headquarters.
Minister Modi ji himself, back in December 2014, who introduced the idea of establishing World Yoga Day to the UN General Assembly. A record number of 175 member states recognized yoga's universal appeal and adopted the landmark resolution proclaiming June 21 as International Yoga Day, the day of the summer solstice here in the north. So every 21 of June is World Yoga Day. This day provides people everywhere across the globe, all of us and everyone watching, an opportunity to reflect upon the countless benefits of practicing yoga. Indeed, an invaluable gift in the world from India's ancient tradition. We thank the Honorable Prime Minister of India for this notable initiative, which is now celebrated worldwide with enthusiasm and vigor. I will now begin the official part of today's event by requesting Ambassador Ruchira Kamboj, India's permanent representative to the United Nations, to the stage to deliver her opening remarks.
Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, Mr. President of the General Assembly, Madam Deputy Secretary General, Mr. Mayor, distinguished ambassadors, distinguished guests, and all my dear friends and colleagues from this wonderful audience. Today's celebration is indeed very, very special. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will lead us in doing yoga here at the United Nations lawns. To put matters in perspective, it was under his leadership and under his guidance that 21st June was declared as International Yoga Day. And it is only fitting, therefore, that the inspiration behind the idea is with us today in this scenic, multicultural setting of the United Nations. Ladies and gentlemen, it is truly beautiful to see so many around the world gather in solidarity for yoga. It is not living with the burden of weight or the lightness of oblivion. It is a choice made with balance, an idiosyncratic beauty, timeless throughout the progress of humanity. Yoga has endured. It is truth beyond articulation, wisdom beyond time. I hope all of you will cherish 21st June this year and hold it close to your hearts, today and forever. Thank you.